Yes. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of The Lion with Seth. Y'all, I'm Seth, and we got Big Herm over there. Look, before we go into it, we'll let y'all know what we do if this is your first time really listening. And y'all, we focus on all things leadership, growth, development from the household to out in the community. Right on? That's what this is about. So what up, Herm? How you feel, bro?
Man, I'm feeling all right, man. You know what I mean? I really can't complain about nothing.
Seem like we've been on in some months, huh?
It's been a hot little minute, man, between Father's Day and things getting in the way. You know what I mean? Happy late Father's Day to all the fathers that are out there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Anything else new happening out there since we've been gone?
Well, yeah. For those of you, some of you know and some of you don't, y'all. I was in a accident a couple of weeks ago, and y'all, I was T-boned. Somebody slipping. Yo, she had no insurance, bro. I'm just minding my own business, and wow, got me. So I was out for the count, but luckily, I got my health. You dig? I'm alive and everything. Still a little, little tight around the neck, but we're gonna get that worked out. But
it was crazy. It was crazy to see the photos of your vehicle, you know what I mean? And to know it could have been a lot worse. So I'm glad that you back healthy and you back in Zumba again. You know what I'm saying? I'm just happy that everything is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm back at the gym. I'm really getting in at the gym. I don't know what you're doing at the gym, but honestly, y'all, shout out to everybody with prayers, your thoughts and everything. I really appreciate it, y'all. We in here. We good. So, man, what you think about, man? So we're on the last few days of Men's Mental Health Month, man.
Check this out, man. Check this out. The thing is, man, nobody cares about men's mental health
at all.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You know what I mean? I don't care what nobody says. Nobody cares. Man, you better take your ass to work and quit crying.
And walk it off.
And this is why this conversation is important. Because nobody cares about men's mental health. Even men don't care about men's mental health.
It's like, and that's so unfortunate, man. And this is a long time coming. And I think this is something we need to continue to do more on a regular basis, right? Because not going all the way deep into it. However, met this brother. He's a frat brother of mine, right? Very smart individual. But it's like, hey, his background and his credentials, and not just that, his spirit is, hey, we really need to make sure individuals know how important mental health is. And luckily, we were in a space to really have great conversations about men's mental health and the things that we know can avoid. Why? Because we're working, taking care of the kids, taking care of all other types of things. But what seems to be the last thing on the list? Us.
Yeah, sure. And it's always like that. And for the people that are watching now, right? For the people that are watching now, I hope that ask questions. You know what I'm saying? Ask questions, but also take in what we're about to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And try to when you go about your day, check in on that strong man that always checks in on everybody, but it appears that nobody checks in on them. Absolutely. Ask them how they doing today.
Absolutely. So let's see if you was listening. What's his title, bro?
He is a psychiatric nurse practitioner. Or if you want to get jiggy with it, he is a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, board certified, Alpha Omega.
Wait, hold on, wait.
Whatever.
No, hold on. Look, let's bring it back. Alpha Phi.
Did I go too far? Did I go too far?
Too far. Bring him back. We'll bring him back, y'all. Don't worry. Hey, he don't know no better. Okay, he needs some milk. Now,
I'm just the RN, man. I'm just the RN at the end of the day.
Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Y'all give it up for Dr. Chambers, y'all. Yes. Woo. What's going on, big bro? How you feel? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't hear Seth.
All right. Go out and come back in. Like go all the way out, log all the way out and come back in. We just gonna talk some noise for a little bit till we get you back on.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we can talk to people, internet. See, he got all that going on, but and still that dialogue. But
Man,
anyway,
man, you know, when you're dealing with technology, man, you always gotta be available to pivot. You know what I mean?
always pivoted.
Hey,
Always.
but
So man,
since it's me and you, what do you think? What do you think when you think about men's mental health? What is the first thing you think about?
And the first thing I think about when it comes down to men's mental health is, man, it's like we almost have to keep it on the low. You see what I'm saying? Because if you're in a relationship with individuals, they may not quite understand, no matter what type of relationship. It can be at home, it can be at work, it can be just regular. You know, having that safe space is not just in the relationship, it's even with other men, because the way that they have been grown, groomed, and don't talk about feelings. And so I'm glad we're going to be able to get into that. Let's see. Can you hear me, bro?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There you go. We in the building. What's up, man? What's up? There we go. Yeah. Well, look, let's get this ball rolling. Go ahead, Big Herm. I think that was a real good question, man. But you can ask that for him.
Yeah, right from the jump, right? Being that you've been in this the career space for almost 30 years or over 30 years. When it comes to men's mental health, what is the first thing you think about when that discussion is brought up?
Man, the fight, the plight of men in and of itself. Men, we are the worst at taking care of our mental health. And it's a twofold, right? Because there's a need, there's a want for us to take care of our mental health, but it's also almost a double stigma, right? To actually pay as much attention to it, or at least let everybody else know you're very concerned about your mental health.
Man, I agree with that. It is a stigma. And why do we think that it is a stigma? Like what is being held against men when they speak out about their mental health? Why is that such a struggle for people to understand, even for men to understand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think if you ask this question, let's do it this way, right?
Let's go.
Let's do it in terms of, if every man out there, let's ask the question, did anyone teach you how to manage your emotions?
Boom. Boom,
Right?
shakalaka.
So hopefully that kind of answers a lot right there. What we are taught is to tuck it away, right? In so many words, to pull up your bootstraps, and don't worry so much, just be strong, all of those kind of things. And just the very tip now is the beginning. It's like setting up the baseball field, right? Before anybody gets out there, setting up the basketball court and stuff like that. In terms of what's happening with men's mental health, I want to be clear about that. There's a little bit of movement, right? However, we have a big job to do to start that process of saying, let me help you understand how to manage your emotions, right? Because it's a facade to say we don't have emotions. We just handle everything, right? So that's how I would answer that question.
Yo, I love that. I really do love that. Thank you. My question is, again, more on the relationship, right? The relationship vein. And why do you think, whatever it is, I'm not sure what it is, but what stops so many of us men from being emotionally honest with the people we love?
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean? What do you think about that?
here's an interesting thing, right? I'm gonna answer it kind of this way. If you've been in relationships that had some length to it, right? I would consider it like a year or more, right? And your partner says to you, how you doing today, right? And in the beginning, we want to share everything, and so we start telling lots of stuff. And if you notice over time, what happens to their attention with it? It's not that good anymore, right? Okay, that's one aspect of it, right? And then the other part again is, in relationships, when people, they don't have years of experience on not only listening, but being skilled at solution based, right? So that's even what I do in terms of mental health psychiatry is not just you hand me all this stuff and dump it on me, right? It's more towards I need to get all that stuff out and then let's work on the solutions behind it. Okay. So that's very, very important to understand the difference, even when it comes to how I'm doing things with medication, right? We'll get into that. But the biggest thing is when it comes to relationships, why we're not letting things loose, again, is because a lot of people, number one, don't understand how to help walk them through it, right? And I think this is a fantastic platform so that we'll talk about maybe in a different series about what I call who's your 5 minute person, who's your 30 minute person, who's your hour to 3 hour person, and at the end of that, have you guys established how do you work on solutions, right? That 5 minute person, I'll give you just a brief on that. That
No,
5 minute person.
let's go ahead and get into that. Let's go ahead and
Okay.
get into that.
I
Let's
think it
talk
makes
about
sense,
that right
man.
quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. So when we look at what I developed over the years was to help people understand who is somebody you can talk to for 5 minutes and excuse me, audience, but that 5 minute person may just very well be that person that you say, I just need to really get this out. I don't need you to say a whole lot because 5 minutes is not that much, right? So I need to really just release some stuff, okay? And you're sitting there listening because you've gotten to know that person. And at the end of that 5 minutes, you can say, all right, I heard you. Okay. So what are you going to do now? Okay. And that person go up, I'm gonna get back to you, right? The half hour person is the one that goes, that's when you have someone you can get into obviously better detail, right? So that's that person that after 5, 10 minutes you talking, they come back and talk for a good 5 minutes or so, or volley back and forth a little bit and say, hey, all right, I see what this issue is. Man, I get you, I understand, yada yada. Let's be very clear in any of these circumstances, they are not your clinical therapist. Okay. Let's just be clear. They are there as a supportive person. That's what I'm talking about. Who is your 5 minute support person, your 30 minute, and your 3 hour person, right? You getting into some real stuff, man. Hey, let's dig in, and let me just get some of these things out. But at the end of, we move on to that hour person. At the end of that, it is definitely about the solution part, right? So let's say, for an example, this is going to seem weird. Let's say, for example, you're the kind of guy that every single day, when dinner comes up and ask your wife, what's for dinner? And they say, I don't know, right? And to many men, they may say, it's easy, just fix something, right? And that bugs you to all end that you have to go through this every single day of what's to eat when you've had that conversation. That's very true, very minor. We can figure that stuff out. Some can't though, right? However, you try to work on solutions. What's the solution, right? For example, I had to learn with my wife, right? When she said, I don't know what to fix. I said, okay, this is madness because to me, hey, we went out to eat, you kind of saw what I was eating, all that kind of stuff. I think you should have some ideas. Duh, that is men in general. We think about things just like this. Unless you do this, we're not gonna know. Am I wrong?
No,
you're right.
pretty right.
Okay. So, and there's really nothing wrong with that because we start to understand, listen, we're very forward focused as men and not so much. We want to be looking at everything under the world, right? So I see this in many females that they are the greatest detectives out there. Okay. Greatest detective. They notice everything. But let me move back. So the reason why it's very important for me to say, hey, I got a menu now. I'm going to give you all of these different kind of foods. You can make this Monday through Friday, and I'm cool with that. And if you're the kind of guy that says, hey, on Saturdays, man, we can just eat out, it's fine, no big deal. What did that do? Now that solves an issue that I could say, hey, if you pick from these two things on any given day, I'm going to be happy. And if you're happy, then we're great. That makes sense, guys?
Yeah, it makes
No,
sense.
it does.
Yeah.
Hold on, Herm. Hold that thought, because I think what's very, very important in this is, as you find your 1 minute, 5 minute, or even 30-minute, hour person, how do you know if they even have the capacity for your dumping?
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Because not everybody has it, and may need a 1 minute, 30-minute person, and you got all this other stuff going on. So how would you even open up the space to find out who that person is?
Man, hey, before you get into it, right? I want to say this, because what you just said, Seth, and bruh, as far as my close friends go, you are my newest close friend, right? And you are the person that I share everything with. Even the people that I've known from way back when, I don't feel like they have, we don't share in that way. So I don't know what it was about you to make me feel like I was able to share my relationship, my, you know what I'm saying, my kids. We talk about every damn thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we haven't known each other since about 2020.
Right.
A little bit before that, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm trying to think, what did I have before then, before I met you, to where I had a friend that I wasn't just talking sports with? You know what I mean?
You see? And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, how do you know who is? You know what I'm saying, Q? Like, how do you know that person have that capacity to say, I feel comfortable, but then I know that they're not just hearing me, they're listening.
Well, first, let me say this, man. You know, what a blessing, Herm, for you guys to be friends like that. Obviously we know that's a gem, right? You know, so that's first and foremost. I need to make sure I acknowledge that. Secondly, it really does speak to, you know, what you just said, which is instinct, right? It's an instinct that we start to develop because we see the ones that man, you know, you could barely keep their attention for a second, right? So you know that's not someone you want to come to, because it's going to be an emotional roller coaster for you yet again. So stay away from those kind of people that are not going to be helping you. And then I want to be clear again that yes, we're releasing a lot of these things that are causing us in our mental state a problem. But we really have to turn the corner and understand this is healthy, right? So it's not necessarily dumping, right? Because you're going to also work on the solution part of it as well. So that's a good distinction there, because there's a big difference. If someone just starts blah, 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 and then it's like, okay, goodbye, you just dumped on them, right? You know, and that's not fair. Yeah, you know, that's not fair for them to do that. So it's also just being very transparent and saying, man, you know, I feel like our relationship, that I can talk to you for a few minutes, you know, and it'd be nice if I had some feedback, you know, and you might have to be trusting of yourself enough, you know, to say, I think I can ask them if they could be that kind of person for me. And of course, it's important that you be ready to reciprocate that.
Because for the longest, I've always relied on mentors for that type stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? I had mentors, but I never had a friend that I can, you know what I'm saying? That part right there was pretty new to me, that I can talk to a friend, you know what I'm saying? And because you could be a little bit more open with a friend than a mentor, because a mentor, you don't want to let them down with some of the things that you do. But with a friend, they understand exactly where you're coming from. But check it. I want to switch speed just a little bit, because for whoever's watching, they might think this, they might feel the same kind of way, because it gets confusing when we talk about people that support mental health, right? You got counselors, you got, you know what I'm saying, psychiatric nurse practitioners. What is the biggest, and we all know the medication is a difference. That's part of the difference. But what is the biggest difference between prescribing medication between a psychiatric nurse practitioner and a clinical therapist, you know what I'm saying, or a therapist, and when should somebody see you instead of a therapist or vice versa?
Yeah. So to make things easy and complicated, right?
Right.
There's actually, we would probably say, almost three categories, right? So there's, the therapist, and then, well, no, let's simplify it. There's a therapist, and then there are psychiatrists, no, and then psychologists, right?
Okay.
So that's a big, big difference. So here we are, the counselor therapist, they are designed to really work on some of the talk therapy, we call it, right? Work on the talk and strategy on how they're going to be able to really step out, take a look at what has been going on in their life mentally, so that they can start to, number one, have these thoughts about what was good, bad, and different. That's number one. So they take them through the journey, through their mental, in terms of that. Now, psychologists, they get very, very deep into it. They are primarily talk therapy, right? Their job, because they spend an even more extensive amount of time, they may do things like certain kind of surveys, certain kind of tests, mental health tests, to tell what kind of disorders they are dealing with. Okay. So, for example, depression, anxiety, attention deficit, those psychologists are very much so qualified to do those kind of mental health testing, to be able to understand, here's the path on what we're going to really work on for someone's mental health. Then you have the psychiatrist, which encompasses the psych nurse practitioner as well as psychiatrists, right? And so the psychiatrists, their job really is the neurology. So that's the anatomy of the brain, what's going on a cellular level with that patient. That's what we do. That's what I do, is I look at what pathologically, which is what went wrong, is going on with this patient. From the time they walk through the door and see me, I see them, I'm looking at how they walked in, what was their stance, how tall or short or big or small are they, nutrition, all of those things, including how did they talk, was it with higher intellect or lower intellect, not just the medication, even before I get to there. So there's an algorithm that neurology, psychiatrists have to follow in order for us to even get to the point to say we're going to prescribe medication. So that's another key point in terms of psychiatrists, is that we have to determine, is this truly something where, actually twofold, we need to prescribe some medication for this patient, it's to that point that it's necessary, or do we do both? Do we give medication and maybe do some psychotherapy, or do we refer them to a psychologist or a therapist to do the psychotherapy while we manage the medication? I think that's very important to know, so that people understand psychiatrists are not just passing out medication. So
got it. So when should they see you as opposed to a therapist?
they should definitely see a psychiatrist when the disorder has become pretty consistent. They did some talk therapy and it's not moving the needle. That's very important for them to really understand. What do I mean by that? So if they've went through an extensive, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, and at the end of it, maybe them and the therapist have decided nothing's really changing all that much. I can't get out of this depression. I can't get away from this anxiety. I've tried all kind of techniques and it's not working. That tells us the next best step is to see a psychiatrist, because medication is likely to be involved.
It might be chemical.
Correct. Yeah, because it's a chemical imbalance that's going on in the brain, that needs to be stabilized. We need to basically replenish the neurotransmitters, chemicals that are imbalanced.
Ooh,
Wow.
love
Big,
that, man.
there it is. Hey, see, now I'm learning something. Sorry, bro. So we got this good question here. We all know that you can't fix what you refuse to see. Okay. You can't do that. So can a man build real self-awareness when he spent years, right, and years just pushing through?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that how do they build the awareness? They typically are aware something is not right. And they need to look at a gamut of things. Am I drinking just to hide my feelings? Am I smoking marijuana to hide my feelings? Am I gambling to hide my feelings? All of those things. And then comes the awakening that honestly, and I'm not just plugging guys, but truly when we get them out and get the information out there that they can see real guys, we're not fake, we're giving them the real, that they can go, wait a minute, they went through some things too. And man, they finally had to figure out, like, look, I need to talk to somebody because this is too much. And I'm still strong. I'm still going to be strong. It's just I need better tools than being hanging out here by myself. Because I tell people all the time, if you don't bend, you're gonna what? Break.
Definitely gonna break. You know what I mean? Because
Wow.
and that kind of goes into my question about depression. I want to go into depression a little bit. So what does depression look like in a Black man who would never say I'm depressed? Like how do you see depression in a person that puts on a persona that nothing breaks me, I'm never going to break or bend?
Mm-hmm. That could come in things like he's very verbally aggressive, may even be physically angry to his wife or girlfriend or friends and family, irritability. It's not just always a sad face or quiet sitting around in the corner and hanging to himself, but we should watch for those things too. It looks like he's just sitting down in the basement watching the ball game, but it's actually he really doesn't know how to lift himself out of that whole thing. So the depression can really look like a couple of things we need to pay better attention to. And we need to really, at somebody who's around them, really also need to understand there's a financial depression, obviously, right? What's happening with his finances, because who's happy when their finances not right?
And especially men, though. And I'm glad
happy
that
as hell payday hit. Yeah, go
ahead. Right. But I mean, think about it, man. I mean, we're all experiencing and seeing what's going on right now, right? And economic changes, that does something to people, specifically men. I'm sure men and women, right? But when we can't do what we need to do to provide, and it's like, man, look, I'm not gonna go to jail, but I got to eat. They got to eat. I mean, you get what I mean? I'm and so you sit there, you're like, oh, well, what do I do? And without having a person to talk to say, hey, listen, you have all the things that you need to be successful, but let's peel that thing back. I can see how I can create a spiral to anybody, for anyone.
Check. And I got a question, Ruth. I want to get to a bare bones question real quick.
Sure.
Because a lot of times people throw out words and they really don't know what it means. And we just talked about depression, right? Yeah. What is depression really? You know what I mean? Is it just feeling sad? Can we talk about what really is depression? How does somebody even know that they're even depressed?
Mm-hmm. So depression is when your mood alters in a way that, here by definition, it is symptoms that last at least 30 days or more, where you have things like low motivation, low energy, inability to really think through things, because it may look like you're becoming where your memory's not good even, right? And so it's important to see depression can come in the form of those things I just talked about, which is you look sad, you don't have motivation to do anything, you're not bathing yourself, you're not getting tasks done like you normally would. So things that are out of the ordinary and they're happening on a consistent basis, which we would consider to be at least a 30-day and on period of time. And it's not due to a specific scenario that happened. So you got a divorce, a family member passed away, yada yada. That's grieving. Okay. Those are, believe it or not, grieving things versus something that you feel this overwhelming feeling that's not going away, because all of us, chemicals are going to kind of do this number enough that you may experience what depression could feel like, but you don't have what we call clinical depression, which is those symptoms that we just discussed.
Okay, so is depression something that people can just snap out of? Like somebody said, man, hey man, just do some push-ups and quit crying about it. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know when it's like something I really need help with? My bad self, man. I ain't mean to keep going on, but
no, it's okay.
Like how does somebody know it? How somebody know it? Like, hey, this is something you could just snap out of, do some push-ups and quit crying. Or, man, I really need help because for whatever reason, I'm not shaking this.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. It's something that you're not shaking, that you really need help. You should pay attention to it and understand it's okay, man. There's so many of us out here that are dealing with it. You are definitely not alone. So you could forget that idea that, man, somebody is going to think that you're a certain way. All of that goes out the door, because on the back end of it, this is what I've seen over the years. When people ignore the depression symptoms that are consistent and keep coming, they're going to end up losing their job. They're going to lose their relationships, and it's going to be very detrimental to them. So what did they do? They just compounded the issue, right? So it's important for them to not think somebody's going to say, quit crying, quit, fuss about, feeling sad and stuff. Just snap yourself out of it. It's not that easy with real depression, because real depression, when they say, man, it's just how you're thinking about things. Well, technically it is, because it's inside your brain, okay? It's a chemical reaction thing that's going on versus you're just feeling sad because you didn't make enough money that you got to wait another week to pay that bill. That's different. That's a different thing.
Right, because that's a natural thing, or something happened and you feel sad about it. But again, to your point, a long period of it. And is it such thing as chronic depression?
Correct. Yeah, we call it major depression, chronic depression. And again, it's the length of time that these same symptoms go on. It may seem to a layperson that when they see somebody like this, they are saying, man, I don't know how to help you, because our brain says, let's get going. Don't feel that way. I like you. I want you to feel better. And it's frustrating to me even that you keep being like that, because every time I see you, you're like that. And it's like, snap out of it, right? And it's not that easy for that person. So what needs to really happen is understand, if you're the right kind of person for them, you're kind of their person. Remember, we just talked about 5:30 in an hour, right? So you're the right kind of person. You may be able to say in your relationship way, hey man, what does it look like, man, for you to go see a professional? What do you think? Right?
Yeah. Ooh, boy, this is heavy. First of all, let me take a pause for the calls. Everybody, hold on, Herm. I know you got a lot. Yo, hey, Doc, you might have to charge Herm, right? Because he's getting but no, real talk. No, this is real good conversation. And ladies and gentlemen, real, if there's anything that you need, if you need any help, any type of support, make sure that we got our brother's information. Thank you, dog, for being up in here. We appreciate you. We do appreciate you, man. This is real stuff, real talk. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, Dr. Quincy Chambers, okay? You can go to telepsychnp.com, okay? telepsychnp.com, and you can look him up and get all his good news that you can use. So, brother, my question is going back into the relationship type of thing, but also we're professionals, right? A lot of the individuals that are listening to us, that either have been in the military, still in, or moving on to some type of professional type of endeavor. So my question is, for you in the workplace, how do men balance ambition? Should balance ambition with the relationships that keep them grounded? What I mean by that is, like, chasing a promotion can quietly carve the connections that matters the most. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm kind of asking for those individuals that may not know that that hustle and bustle, they losing the things that, you know, that really count.
Yeah. Preparation, right? Proper preparation is very, very important when it comes to how do I develop relationships that's going to help me in my career. Hopefully that's what you're asking me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when that happens, it's about preparing your brain mentally, learning better communication skills inside of the workforce, right? Because there's a different language. There's a different language. And so you have to get yourself mentally prepared to be accepting of that different kind of language, that different kind of relationship when you're dealing with colleagues and things of that sort, you know, because you know your potential, you know, you feel like you deserve that promotion or whatever it is. Then now it's important for you to communicate that to them in a way that they're going to hear it, right? Because again, you know, if you're speaking English to someone who just, you know, came over here from, you know, Spain somewhere, you're gambling to figure out whether or not they actually speak English as well while they were over there. So as an example, so I would say understand the landscape, understand, you know, what you need to develop in yourself to have better communication, and be fine with it not being the first or second or 18th time a positive situation. It should be learning. It should be learning that this communication, oh, I did it a little bit wrong there. They said this, and not be so critical of yourself, but keep the eyes and ears open to be able to say, okay, I did something positive. I started.
Love it.
Check it. So I'm gonna talk about the ways men feel safe, right?
Yeah.
And the question would be is why, and if you agree with this or not, you know, why do some men feel safer being angry than being hurt?
Yeah.
Like, personal for me, I have a hard time talking about if I'm hurt or not. You know what I mean? It's like somebody wants you, like your significant other or your wife or whatever, wants you to admit that you're hurt. That bothers me for some reason. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Of course,
I,
yeah.
I might need you to bill me after this, but yeah,
right. And
I'm
you
not.
know,
I'm not trying to talk about me being hurt. And so the question is like, why do some men feel safer being angry than being hurt?
yeah. I do question that whether or not it's a safety or if it's really a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what
Yo,
that.
we
Yeah,
talked
that's
about
what.
that, Herm. We talked
Yeah,
about this for real.
yeah. I really question: is it more of a defense mechanism because you again have not been trained, taught, discovered how to manage your own emotions yet? Right? That's the question thing, is where I would lean more that way than to just say it's easier to be angry. You want people around you. You want people to see you are that hero, that you are that alpha male, that you are the protector, you know, all of those things. And that's what we have been exposed to, except for the part of being able to say, okay, I'm hurt. And now I'm
Woo.
going to deal with that. And when my whoever comes back and say, you were upset, you were hurt, you know, instead of saying, I don't want to talk about that, or leave me alone, or that kind of stuff, you know, you may want to, there's different ways that you can handle it, you know, because even with my wife, I've been with her, you know, 30 years now, right? And even when she says, why are you look like you're upset about this? And I have to pause for a second and make sure, is that a true statement, number one? Right? Am I upset? And do I look angry, this and that? Okay, well, my real purpose wasn't for you to show that I'm angry. My real thing is, here's what I want to happen. Okay, I just tell them what I want to happen, and that didn't happen. I need to figure out how to get that to happen, right? That's a really step back, understand what's going on in your brain instead of blocking it out. Actually take a statement that's a true statement.
So, bro, So my question is, sticking with this for a minute, don't you think it could help? And this is for anybody, even myself, as I'm thinking about it. It makes sense to understand vocabulary, meaning my face can look upset, but I'm not upset. Maybe I'm thinking and trying to process something that was there's a contradiction between what my desire was and the result. And so it's an internal battle. But sometimes when people see this face or anybody face, they take it personal, like you must be upset at me. So then what that does, in my opinion, it kind of hijacks my real feelings. So now I got to indirectly defend. No, it ain't you. Well, if it ain't me, why you look at me like that? Wait, it's my face. I can't hide my face. Watch this. I can't hide my face in a safe space. I shouldn't. But now, if I'm going through these things, I can't I can't explain to you what's going on if I'm still trying to understand it myself. You get what I mean? So do you think it's a vocabulary thing or understanding the emotions from upset, frustrated, or confused? What do you think, man? Hopefully that made sense. Like, what do you think?
Yeah. Ultimately, we teach people how to treat us. Okay. So I'm gonna say that again. We teach people how to treat us. Okay.
Man.
So
Hold on, what you about to say, Herm? What you about to say, Herm?
Yeah.
It's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Just like your significant other teaches you how to treat them.
Treat them, yeah.
It's just up to us to pay attention. You know what I mean? If we care enough to pay attention. And I also believe he needs to give your ass a bill next too. But anyway, go ahead.
That's right. Man, I'm racking up. I appreciate you guys.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Q.
Wait till you see that invoice.
Hey,
no, I tell you what.
He don't take insurance.
I don't take insurance. So, I'm going to do you a solid. Right. I'm going to put you on the membership plan. That way you can talk to me as many times as you want in that month.
but no, brother. But like, how do you deal with that? Well, how would you suggest a brother deal with that in his relationships, or like trying to communicate that no, I'm not mad, but I'd rather feel this way or this way than being vulnerable.
Yeah, I'll have to make it personal, right? If my wife said something to me, why are you upset? My comeback now is you feel like I'm upset. Is that right? You feel like I'm upset, and honestly, that's not the situation. Or if it is, I tell her that. I don't want to hide it anymore. Why? Why would I hide it from somebody that's supposed to like me, love me? That kind of stuff. We got to stop doing that, guys, and go. Just being in this impenetrable wall that comes up the minute that happens. Because again, you are in charge of your emotions. Nobody else can do that, right? You are in charge. That's the real talk. And this is the training grounds right here. This is it. To be able to understand that, man, I did a lot of practice over the years, right? And especially, a little bit of a twist and turn. So my first 15 years, I worked child and adolescent, and I worked with a lot of young ladies. Holy moly, the emotions are all over the place, let alone just child and adolescent, right? And I had to really ask a lot of questions on where are you at and why haven't someone been able to help you unleash a way that you feel safe and you feel in charge of your emotions. So those are some of the things how I would answer that.
Wow, man. Now, so what you think about that? Like, these are some real good questions that for real, I haven't been asked, because what that does is it will start to unpack certain things. And then you say, well, honestly, shit, I don't know. I've never been taught how to really cope with certain things. So all I know to do is to fight through it or just cuss you out because you made me feel away. But in
Man,
actuality, it's because I feel away and I don't know how to deal with it correctly or healthy.
man, absolutely, because vulnerability is a scary place for a man, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like when a man opens up in that kind of way, I mean, Q talked about that wall that people build. As soon as we drop that wall and become vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? Once that gets violated, you know, it makes us want to put up that wall to where, hey, no, hell no, that's never going to happen to me again. And so that
Yeah.
brings me to a question. It's like, what would healthy emotional support from a partner look like without making the man feel like he's interrogated, mothered, judged, you know what I'm saying? Or even like what Seth talked about earlier, emasculated. You know what I mean? How does somebody support a man and let him know that it's okay to be vulnerable?
Teach, man. This you. They don't know how to get in your brain until you're able to tell them. We have to change also that understanding of when you truly are being vulnerable, when you're truly in a state, pardon my way of saying this, that you just rolled over and they're rubbing your belly, right? That's a whole different. You really became submissive. That's not it. You're giving grounds, you're giving boundaries, right? That's a good one. So we have to look at what's a boundary, right? A boundary is not blocking you out, it's
Mm.
giving you the safe haven. Because this is what I even told my kids, and this is what I tell everybody else. When you put boundaries up, healthy boundaries, okay, you have to also make sure that person understand that here's everything you can do inside of this boundary. Don't forget that.
That's right. That's right.
All I'm saying is don't go outside of it, right? So when you
Mm.
start going outside of that boundary, that you're done. No, right? Because why? You taught people how to treat you. And what's going to happen is with repetition, when they understand that, oh, I stepped over the boundary. Yeah, he's not going to react right to that. So I'm going to cut that out. Okay, so that's with your spouse, that's with your family, your sister, brother, this and that. That you set that tone and you do it like a broken record, so that every single time when they try to come back with nonsense with you, I'm not going there with you. That's not my lane for you to do that anymore. I know better now. I know control of me. I know my own emotion. I know how to talk to you. I know how to even say to you when you're getting out of bounds. It's so easy now for me to tell my brother, and say, are you okay? You okay, man? You good? What do you mean, am I good, man? Now, see, you doing that stuff, and that's not where I'm gonna be. All right, I'm gonna talk to you later then, bro, because yeah, we not there right now, right?
Mm,
I'm in control, right? And he's thinking, oh man, you're trying to shrink me and all this other stuff. No, I'm just being real to me because I'm not inviting that kind of emotion and like stress into my life. Why would I?
There we go.
I'm in control of me, Quentin. So what in the world? You can't do nothing to me that I'm not trying to allow for it to happen.
man.
Woo! See, now, so then that
Yeah.
brings me to this question. So, how does a man rebuild trust and communication after or maybe after he let someone down?
Yeah.
So let's say you enforced your boundary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because someone was out of line, but how do they rebuild it? How would you say a person should or a man could rebuild?
So if they're building trust in a relationship, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. That is definitely going to be repetition, for sure. I've seen it over and over with couples, explaining, because let me take it from a female side. I see over and over with them that they're going to lock that in, that there was something happened that, man, that broke the mold on it. And we have to explain to them, we're not going to put back those pieces. We're actually going to create a new mold, right? Because this is a different, a new beginning. It's very important that you don't try to patch up stuff that's going to crack because you keep doing what? The same stuff, right?
Right.
So that's first and foremost, you as that person trying to build, more trust, trying to build the relationship back. It's about, number one, not doing the same stuff that you know wasn't going to, make a relationship good in the first place. Because in a relationship, you should be treating someone better than what they want for themselves.
Oh man.
Hey man,
Wow.
I ain't new to
That's
this,
heavy.
brother. I'm not new to this.
That's heavy. That's heavy.
So being not new to this and practitioner, I'm gonna assume that that's a rarity in your field, right?
So rare. It's like being in the sea, like in the Gulf, and you thinking you got a nice but big a nice sized boat, and then you turn around and look, you're actually in a raft that you definitely need somebody to come save you. I mean, I'm not being, because very, very few of us.
So that being said, right, that there's very few of y'all, does it change the way male participants or like specifically men of color respond to you? How do you feel like they respond to you in your career field?
My response so far has been, without them really saying it, it's almost like, thank God, about time I found somebody,
Right.
For real. I see it on them. Some of them verbalize it. Man, I've been looking forever. Man, I can't find nobody. I can't find. What do you mean you can't find anybody? Man, I can't find an actual, real, professional Black male in mental health. It's just not really there, and that's the truth. It really is.
Gotcha. And so, do you feel like when they see you that you like? I mean, talking with you right now, I can see why. You know what I mean? Black, white, or indifferent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do have a lot of knowledge to give back to a person. But do you feel like they feel like you come from a common place? What's the difference in your view between having a white man doing it, a white woman, or such? Why do you feel like they do not connect the same way? Besides the obvious reason.
Yeah, obvious is culture. Obvious is, because a Black male, it's a almost a genetic how some things are embedded in us, that the way we move, the way we may interact with other people, doesn't matter what our dialect is, having that gene of being Black, African American, African, all that kind of stuff, there is a true difference, right? Because there's a difference in, how strong we are, how agile, yada, yada. So I would say the difference between maybe a European, right, male versus, an African American, people see it different. And sometimes they may wonder, how firm is he going to be, right? So that's a whole different dynamic as well. What am I walking into, right? I've had so many different dynamics. I've had, young European males who really come to me because they know, and they've seen my videos, they've seen my website, they, seen the content of things that I've put out there, and they literally tell me, I can really feel how genuine you are. You're not just putting on this facade, which is true. And because of that, it's almost like, man, I need some of that in my life. I really do. I need someone that's going to give me the what when I need the what, and they're going to also help me to walk through, not for you, right? But walk with that journey to be able to say, now I got somebody that's I really can support me. And he's going to tell me, if I don't need that medicine, no, that's not the right one for you. I'm not going to do that. And in fact, I've had times that I've told people, listen, you got the wrong provider, because I will not give that to you. It's wrong in your situation, and I got to sleep at night. So.
Woo, brother. Okay. Well, look, man. First of all, thank you. Thank you. This is something. This is definitely something. So, look, man, before we go, I wanted to make sure that, well, Herm got another question, but afterwards, man, I want you to think about something that you want our audience to know or something that, you've learned that you didn't know before, especially in a space of mental health for men. But go ahead, Herm. What you got,
And
bro?
hopefully you can wrap it. I mean, because my question falls right in line with what Seth wanted to asking is you've been in this career field for almost over 30 years, right? Yeah. Ups, downs, highs, and lows. What brought you into it in the beginning? What made you say this is my calling in the beginning? And what has kept you there this whole time? We should have asked this at the beginning, but yes. I want the people to know about you and what brought you here.
Yeah. So born and raised Southside Chicago, Illinois. Did I lose you guys?
No, you here.
Okay. Born and raised Southside Chicago, Illinois. Man, look, things weren't peaches and cream. Okay, that's first and foremost. But then I do have a spiritual side to me, and here's the answer to your question. I have wanted to be in this career and blessed to be in this career since I was 8 years old. Real talk. Wow. Real talk. How did that happen? You know how when you're young like that and, you go to school, they have a career day, all this other stuff. I'm not even kidding, man. I'm not even kidding. And they're like, oh, here's a fireman. Here's a blah, 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 blah. So then I go back and tell my mom I had that day, that experience, and I'm asking more questions. I'm like, yeah, but mom, is that everything out there? And she's like, well, no, there's doctors. And I'm like, oh, what do doctors do? She told me what that was. Well, and yeah, son, there's more kind of doctors. Really? What kind of healers, doctors are there? Well, there's blah, blah, blah. And then she got to psychiatrist. And I said, what do they do? She said, listen, they make sure they understand how your brain is working, and they help you to come up with solutions on how you can deal with your emotions in a much more healthier way. And I said, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up.
And thanks, Mom.
Yeah. And I've been on that trajectory ever since then. You could talk to people who I went to grade school, high school with, even in starting college, nursing school, and every last one of them knew that I just said psychiatry, 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 psychiatry. And plus, because my mom told me, speak it into existence. There it is.
Man, much respect to Mom Dukes.
Much respect.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, brother, for being on here. Go ahead, Big Herm, with your final word, big bro.
Hey, first and foremost, when again, speaking from my own ignorance, I didn't really know, to the extent of what psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners do when it comes to, providing mental health. So I know that they provided medicine and, like hospice care. They call their people patients. Counselors call them clients. But I really didn't know, because I've never really dealt with them. You know what I mean? So this show right here for me was learning on my end as well. And I don't think that we could have picked a better teacher than Mr. Chambers. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Chambers, we couldn't have picked a better teacher than you to come on the show and give us the information, give us insight of what you guys really do. You know what I mean? And I truly, truly, truly appreciate you spending time with us. We had to push back the show once, push back the show again. We have Father's Day and we came on, and I feel like, we really, this is one show that we really, really needed to do. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody that's watching, I hope that y'all got something from this. I know that if you really watched it, you really did. Share this information, share his information, and take care of your mental health. Men, women, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. Take care of your mental health at the very least.
Right on, right on. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, hey, this includes the Lion's Den, yo. And again, we appreciate y'all for being up in here. Like you said, look, y'all take care of yourself and each other. Thank you again, bro. We will see you soon on the flip flop. Right on. Later.
Yes, sir.